Okay, in this lesson we're going to convert the equation of a circle between standard form and a new form called the general form. And we're going to use a method called complete the square, which you've seen before, but we're just going to kind of relearn that for circles. So first of all, what are the two different forms? Again, we have general form and standard form. Standard form we learned in the previous lesson, and that's the x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. General form, and don't freak out, it looks a lot worse than it is written in a different way. So now you've got an x squared term, a y squared term, an x term, a y term, and a constant. Basically, if I multiply all this out and move r squared over to the other side, I can put it in this form. Or I could, so let's do that. So x plus 1 squared is the same as x plus 1 times x plus 1. So what is x plus 1 times x plus 1? Well, we've learned that before. X squared, x times 1 is x, 1 times x, and 1. So this would be x squared plus, you got to add these, 2x plus 1. And then if you do the same thing with the y minus 4, and I'm not going to do it, I'm going to let you do it yourself, y squared, and it's a quick way to do it. You just square the first term, double this number, so negative 8, and put the y on, and then square the second term. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16, and that equals 15. So now I need it to look like this. So let's put the x squared term first, put the y squared term, plus 2x, now the x term comes next, so plus 2x, and then minus 8y. And then I've got plus 1, plus 16, and then I got to subtract 15 because I need 0 on the right hand side. So 16 plus 1 is 17, minus 15 is 2. So there's your answer. X squared plus y squared plus 2x minus 8y plus 2 equals 0. So I'm going to have you do the try it number 2. Just do number 2. Or B. Just do B. And then come back. Okay, so after you multiply it out, this is the same as the one we just did. So that was x squared minus 8x plus 16. And when you multiply y plus 8 times y plus 8, you should get y squared plus 16y plus 64. And I'm just going to subtract the 1 now. So now I can just rearrange. I get x squared plus y squared, because I put my x and my y squareds first. And then the x term, 8x, or was that minus? It's minus 8x. So minus 8x plus 16y. Now I have plus 16 plus 64 minus 1. 64 plus 16 is 80, minus 1 is 79. Okay, so that's what that would look like. Now it's easy to do that. It's just skills you've learned in previous classes, and really the other way is easy too. It's basically just putting old skills together in a new way. What if an equation is already in general form? We're going to use complete the square. Complete. I meant to type this out and I didn't. The square. Okay, so like I said, you learned this last year in Math 2, but that was for quadratics. Now we're using it for circles, so I'm basically just going to reteach it. So the first thing I need to do is move this number over to the other side, because I don't want to mess with that number. So you just add or subtract, depending on whether it's a positive or a negative number. Add or subtract that constant. So now we should have x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y equals, and that'll be negative 2 since I'm subtracting it. Next step is taking that and doing some stuff with it. So x squared plus y squared plus 4x, is it plus 2y? Yeah, equals negative 2. So I've got x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 2y equals negative 2. Okay, so now I'm going to make two groups, one with the x terms and one with the y terms. and I'm going to leave a space and put parentheses around them. So what that's going to look like is I'm going to take the x squared x squared plus, that was x, 4x plus blank plus y squared plus 2y plus blank equals -2. It's hard to do this. Okay, so that's your first step. Now this step looks a lot more complicated than it is. Basically, you're going to take those two middle terms. They're middle terms because there's a blank here that's going to be your third term. Your two middle terms, so this term right here, positive 4x and 2y. Take that, just take the number, not the x. So I'm going to take c, which is 4, and put it over 2, and I'm going to square it. Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this y, this 2, which is d in the general equation. So 2 over 2, take half of that, and that's just 1 squared. Okay, and then I'm going to square it and add that to both sides. So add, this is c over 2 squared, this is d over 2 squared. Add it inside your parentheses. So 4 plus 4 there, because that's positive, and then plus 1 here. Don't forget to add those to the other side. Okay, so after you do that, your equation is going to look like this. You're going to have x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then the other parentheses have y squared plus 2y plus 1, and then that equals -2 plus 4 plus 1 is 3. Okay, so now you have two big parentheses, which are trinomials, x squared plus 4x plus 4, and y squared plus 2y plus 1. These are what are called perfect square trinomials. Is a perfect square trinomial. We're going to factor each group, and then we'll have it written in standard form. A quick way to factor would just be factors of the last number, 4, that equals 4. Factors of 4 that equal 4. Well, that's just going to be 2 and 2. And if you do the same thing here, factors of 1 that equals 2, that would be 1 and 1. In general, the number you're looking for is going to be the same every time. It's always going to be half of whatever this number is, including the sign. So if that's negative, these numbers would both be negative. So when I write that out, I'm going to write x plus 2 times x plus 2, which is x plus 2 squared. And then do the same thing with the y's, and I get 1 and 1, so plus y plus 1 squared, and that equals 3. Equals 3. So I get x plus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared y plus 1 squared equals 3. Now I can tell the center and radius because the center, remember, is the opposite of these two numbers. So it'll be -2, -1. And the radius is the square root of whatever this number is, so the square root of 3. Let me just leave it square root of 3. Okay, so a couple try-its, and then we'll be ready to practice. I'll get you started on this one, then I'm going to have you do this one all together. So let's start by making our groups. Remember, by moving the 2 to the other side, which would be -2. So this is gone, and this is -2. Now let's make our two groups. So you've got x squared. Now it's minus 8x, so minus 8x plus blank. So minus 8x plus blank. And then y squared plus 2y plus blank. Plus y squared plus 2y plus blank. And that's going to equal negative 2. Okay, so next step was half of this middle number, which is negative 8 over 2. Remember, when you square, this will be negative 4, but whenever you square a negative number, you get a positive. So that would be negative 4 squared, which is 16. And then the other one is 2 over 2 squared, which is 1 squared, which is 1. Okay, and then we're going to add that inside. So 16 goes here and here. And then the 1 goes here. Don't forget to do it on both sides. Okay, I'm going to let you finish. So stop the video, finish that problem, and then do the second one. Okay, so finishing this problem, we have x squared minus 8x plus 16 plus y squared plus 2y plus 1 equals 15. Now I want factors of 16 that add up to negative 8. Remember I said if you just take the half of this middle number, that will give you the number you're looking for. So that would be negative 4. So this is going to be x minus 4 squared plus half of 2 is 1, and that's positive. So y plus 1 squared equals 15. That's the equation. But it wants also for the center and radius. So the center would be the opposite of these two numbers. So 4, negative 1. I don't know why I wrote 16 there. It'd be 15. So r is going to be the square root of 15. You just leave it like that. Okay, so make sure you copy that down, and then I'm going to clear the page. And so if you have to stop the video, write it down, and then I'm going to clear the page so I can do the second one. All right, step 1, make my parentheses. I'm moving this to the other side. So I've got x squared plus 10y plus blank plus y squared. Let's do that again. X squared minus 4x minus 4x. And this would be y squared plus 10y plus blank equals negative 26. Okay, so half of negative 4 is negative 2, and square that and you get 4. And half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So I add those inside and on the right hand side. So 4 goes here and 25. So plus 4 plus 25. Now we just write it out. So I've got x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus y squared plus 10y plus 25 equals 3. Now half of negative 4 is negative 2, so I'm going to write x minus 2 squared, and half of 10 is 5, so y plus 5 squared equals 3. So that tells me my center must be 2, negative 5, and my radius is square root of 3. Okay, so that's that. Go ahead and try the problems, and then you'll be ready to do the quiz for this unit.